Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Oh, what a great audience. Let's dim the lights for this next one. Oh, too much. There it is. Gotta get things just right. Like Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay, and we help you find coverage options that fit your budget. And now, the mood is right. Wait, the lights are back on again. Trudy, can you? And now it's completely dark.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You are listening to Nat Turner Library Radio, featuring authors Michael Muhammad and Khalifa Muhammad. Nat Turner Library Radio.
You are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Network. If you are offended by black people discussing our suffering, black people discussing our struggle, and black people talking about solutions to our problems, then this show is not for you. You have been warned. Nat Turner Library Radio.
Black people, you are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Today's topic, closing states, the first-hand account of political manipulation of the black community. We will have our sister on, Sister Cynthia Mckinney, former Congresswoman, or let me be more specific, Dr. Sister, former Congresswoman Cynthia Mckinney will be on later on today, inshallah. And I am your host for tonight. My name is Brother Michael Muhammad, for those that are new. You are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Today's date is August 31st. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those that are not familiar with the Nat Turner Library Radio Show, we are a group of brothers and sisters that are under the guidance of Elder Baba Khalifa and his dearly departed wife, Sister Rita Fard Khalifa. May Allah be pleased with her, who's no longer with us. The Nat Turner property is 123 acres of beautiful land in Southampton County, Virginia. It is a property that was purchased many years ago by Elder Baba Khalifa to be a refuge and a sanctuary for black conscious and black revolutionaries all across the country. And it's called the Nat Turner Library because it's on the Nat Turner property itself in the beautiful Southampton County. The spirit of Nat Turner lives there. And Elder Baba Khalifa is the master purveyor of the history of Nat Turner. His son, my good friend, chairman of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show, Khalifa Muhammad, his son, also known as Ibn Khalifa, son of Khalifa. He is an author of a really good book called Frequently Asked Questions about the Nation of Islam, or Nation of Islam Frequently Asked Questions. You can purchase that on Amazon and also on khabooks.com. But before we continue with our show today, let me greet everyone in the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. For those who are not familiar with Arabic, that simply means may peace be unto you all. Peace is the way of life for the original people, and that is the way that we come. But unfortunately, we're in a state of war, so we have to understand that peace is only for those that intend it for us. Brothers and sisters that are in our Black Panther Party, that the Black Panther Party is present at the Nat Turner property this evening having a meeting. Shout out and many, many Black Power fists up for the Black Panther Party and Sister Yah Sentawa, strong black woman who we interviewed last week. Sister gave a heartfelt, heart-wrenching, in some cases, testimony about the tragedies that she's experienced with her own family as a result of the onslaught of the MMR vaccine and the thimerosal poison that went into her child. And she has been suffering ever since. She told us that last week, so go to our YouTube channel, brothers and sisters, if you want to hear that. You simply go to YouTube by typing in Nat Turner Library Radio Show. When you go to YouTube, all that I ask is that you like or subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you get updates about any new shows or any new videos that we put up, which come weekly. And you can also go to our Facebook page, which we'll be corresponding tonight. Brothers and sisters, if you're listening in and you know someone who would like to listen in, or you can't sit by a computer or your cell phone, you can call in from your cell phone as you travel by simply calling in at 515-605-9882. That's 515-605-9882. We have our sister's former Congresswoman Cynthia Mckinney forthcoming around 8:30, 8:35 after our news. And shout-outs to our Christian family. Praise the Lord to them. We always want to give an honor and respect to our Kemetic Science family. We want to say hotep to them, to our Hebrew Israelite family. We want to greet them in shalom. To our Nuwapian family and Brother Amun Mayat Geb, Sister Attorney Victoria Broussard, and Sister Fatima, niece of Dr. Malachi York, who we, if it please Allah, will have them next week if she's able to make it. If not, we'll have someone to continue on our discussion next week about the government's involvement with the attempt, if you would, on neutralizing the mind of Dr. Malachi York and black leaders in general. We want to send the greetings in their language of the Nuwapian language of Rahu Bats, as I was getting educated on that last week. And to those who don't really have an affiliation, those who just, hey, I'm black, I want to listen in, we would say good evening and and thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Support the Nat Turner Library Radio Show and its host and its founder. As I said earlier, you can go to KHA, stands for Ka, books.com, KHAbooks.com to support the many, many selections of the library of KHA Books. You can support me, Brother Michael, on the website simply titled bromichaelmuhammad.com, BROMichaelMuhammad.com. You can find my selection for my book, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman. It's a 20-year research study into the basic essentials of how the black mind was subjugated over the last, 400 years, if you would, 500 years, going back to the truth of how we originally were from the beginning of time, from the Creator himself all the way up into just a few days ago. This is my research study with illustrations and validating points and facts and figures. I don't believe, as I tell my wife all the time, I don't believe in presenting information without having proof. So to support me, you support this movement, you want to go to Amazon and purchase the ebook, which is simply Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman, or you can go to bromichaelmuhammad.com. We have T-shirts, we have fragrances available there, we have other products coming in the future. But you can also purchase the book, and you'll get a signed autograph copy just from your brother, just for $20, for some knowledge and some freedom of mind that'll help you to live in this hell called North America. Again, the call-in number, brothers and sisters, is 515-605-9882. That's 515-605-9882. Lots going on, brothers and sisters, lots going on. Just a reminder for those who are just tuning in, today's subject matter is our part of our Exposing Satan series. simply where we just tell the truth about the very devils and very enemy that is coming against the rise of black people. We have a first-hand account of political manipulation of the black community. If it please Allah, we'll have former presidential candidate, former Congresswoman, and Dr. Cynthia Mckinney will be forthcoming. A powerful black woman. Brothers and sisters, if you're not familiar with our sister, we want you to support her as well by simply going to her website, everythingcynthiamckinney.com. It's Everything Cynthia McKinney. She has a title that I purchased earlier this week called Ain't Nothing Like Freedom. A lot of information. She told me earlier this week, Cynthia McKinney, she said that she has another book coming out that she's going to mention to us tonight. And she even gave me an itinerary of some really good subject matter to discuss tonight that I think will be great for the audience. So, brothers and sisters, stay tuned, listen in, and enjoy the information. You can also be a part of the discussion by going to Facebook, brothers and sisters, and all you have to do is simply go to Facebook, log in like you normally would, go into the search box and type in Nat Turner Library Radio Show. You'll see a photo with yourself, bald-head brother Michael Muhammad, my good friend and chairman and associate, Brother Khalifa Muhammad, and then you'll have our sister Tangela, our news consultant, Brother Yehoshua, our arts and music consultant, and also Sister Nadira Khalifa, who is daughter of our founder. She is the sister that hosts Easy Light Sources, and our other sister, our resident historian and black conscious sister, daughter of a Black Panther from the original Black Panthers. This is our sister, A.J. Jones. You'll see that photo, and you can correspond with us. You can like our page first. That's very important when you go to social media. You like it, you subscribe to it on YouTube, Nat Turner Library Radio, and then you'll get a chance to get updates on what events we're holding, what things we're doing in the world of social media, as well as actual events that are going in our property. We just completed a couple weeks ago the first annual Nat Turner Library Music Fest, which was a great success, the first annual, and look forward to next year's. Also, another bit of news, next week, our brother, who is a good friend of the Nat Turner property, a good friend of mine, brother from the Moore Science Temple. Shout out to the Moore Science Temple. I'll give greetings of Islam, assalamu alaikum, to our brothers from the Moore and sisters from the Moore Science Temple, Dr. Aleem Bey and Sister Kadira El Bey. They'll be actually speaking. Brother Bey will be speaking. Aleem Bey will be speaking at the Moorish Medicine in Georgia here in Atlanta on, I believe it is the 9th. That's correct. The 9th. September 9th at 8 p.m. I will be in the house to support our brother. Brother is full of information, knowledge, history. One thing I can say about my Moore Science brothers and sisters, I'll tell my wife, I said, as long as I've been in this conscious thing for over 20 years, each group has a specialty. Our Moore Science brothers and sisters are factual, actual scientists, hence the name Moore Science Temple. And Dr. Aleem Bey is a great representation of that. So go to the Moorish Medicine, beautiful smoothie shop. These are things that you can enjoy while you're listening and also before and after. Okay. And so, brothers and sisters, we had a lot go on today. And so what I wanted to actually talk about is, we're going to go right into our news.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes?
It is time for the news with Sister Tangela.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, it is time for the news. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Tangela. Oh, welcome.
Thank you. Greetings,
Welcome.
family.
Welcome to the Nat Turner Library News Hour. How are you feeling, Sister Tangela?
Doing fairly well. Thank you for asking.
All praises due to Allah. So, Sister Tangela, we had a powerful week of news this week.
Yes, we have. We have had a powerful week of news, and we have some great articles tonight to discuss and go over.
All right. Well, let's jump right in, sister.
All right, our first article, we're going to give tribute to Aretha Franklin funeral. Speakers, musicians, nations celebrate the Queen of Soul. This article is written by USA Today. The Detroit Free Press staff are contributed to this article. Scores of friends, family, fans, celebrities, and dignitaries all paid their final respects today to Aretha Franklin, who died of pancreatic cancer on August the 16th. This was a star-studded funeral, absolutely beautiful tributes. There was several musical tributes from people like the Clark sisters, from Yolanda Adams, Jennifer Hudson, Fantasia, Chaka Khan. The list goes on and on of all the musical tributes that brought forth today in honor of our dear sister Aretha Franklin.
Right.
There were many people there also speaking, such as Reverend Jesse Jackson, Clyde Davis, Tyler Perry, Bill Clinton, Reverend Al Sharpton. All these young people, all these dignitaries and civil rights icons all spoke today and gave great tributes to our dear sister. Former President George Bush sent a letter, and also former President Barack Obama also sent a letter because they both were unable to attend the actual funeral today. So they both sent letters speaking of kind words of our dear sister. And you also had the Detroit mayor and also the governor were also in attendance, as well as some other city councilmen and people of Detroit were also there as well.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, as I made the mistake a few weeks back, Sister Tangela, I'm sorry, what was your comment on that news?
Well, I wanted to go ahead and read the fact that there were also family members that gave comments. One of her sons, Edward Franklin, he had a musical tribute to his mom. She had her niece, Crystal, her grandchildren, Victory, and Jordan. They also spoke, also to give tributes to their grandmother and to their aunt, which was also beautiful as well.
Wow, that's good.
But it was I was unable to watch the entire full program, unfortunately.
9 hours.
But I know that when I checked around 6, Reverend Jasper Williams was just up doing a eulogy, so I started watching it at 10 when it first started coming on. They were a little late. They didn't get started until almost after 11 before their family started coming in. But with that type of those amount of celebrities and those amount of dignitaries, it took a little while to get everybody situated and everybody in. It was truly something to see, and it was the black church, and once again, gave everyone a beautiful view of black people and how we celebrate the celebration of life of our family and friends. And it was a beautiful tribute. All the tributes were beautiful. All the kind words, all the singing, everything was absolutely beautiful.
Well, it as homegoing services or laying to rest services or funerals, janazas as they go. Our sister Coretta Scott King, Michael Jackson, Prince, I'm sure, and now our sister Aretha Franklin. May Allah eternally be pleased with this powerful black woman.
Yes, definitely.
Who over the past couple of weeks, brothers and sisters, I don't know it all. None of us knows it all. I didn't know Sister was that involved in the liberation struggle.
Yes, she was.
Until, her passing. It's a shame that, as you said, I think it was last week or the week before, Sister Tangela, as you were reading the news article, you were saying that, it's a shame that we don't know.
No, exactly, that we don't know the fight and the struggle that she herself did in the civil rights movement.
Right.
And Reverend Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson both commented on that she was there front and center,
Well, I got to say it again. The civil rights are one thing. We're talking about human rights and
exactly.
And revolution.
She was a part of all that.
Civil rights are one reality, and I think Sister has gone to the other side. In this letter that I'm going to read, brothers and sisters, a statement from the Honorable Ms. Luz Farrakhan validate this. Sister, you read the article where Sister Aretha Franklin actually posted up bail or offered to post up bail for our sister Angela Davis, back when she was arrested in the 60s. I mean, this is in the height of her career.
Yes.
You know, she put herself out there like that. And then during that same time period in 1972, the ministers, I'm going to read a letter from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan about Sister Aretha. I didn't know. She, you know, for those believers who've been around a while in the Nation of Islam, one of our mosques, one of our top mosques, Mosque number 7 up in Harlem, the mosque that I orientated in back in 1995, 96, was attacked in 1972 by police, well known in the Nation of Islam. Police tried to come in there. Police officer died. You know, that's all I'm going to say on that matter. And to this day, the police departments of New York City seem to be at odds with the Nation of Islam as a result. But despite all that, you know, Sister Aretha Franklin showed her support to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam when it wasn't popular to do so for her career. So if I may, Sister Tangela, I'm going to read, brothers and sisters, this letter. It can be found, the official letter is a statement from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, National Representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, to all of us here in Wilmington, North America. He has a brief letter here about our sister, and I'm going to read that right now. You can find this letter at NOI.org, which is simply nationofislam.org, brothers and sisters who are listening, or you can go to the Facebook page for Nat Turner Library, where I have it posted. And it reads, this is from the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan, brothers and sisters, and I quote, Aretha Franklin, a divine gift for us and through us to all humanity. It is with great pain and sorrow that we reflect on and mourn the loss of this magnificent and woman of extreme value. Her value is not only the beautiful gift of her voice, but also the sweetness of her soul and the deep sensitivity that was her gift, to feel the hurt and pain throughout the world. As a people, we needed some form of relief or balm for our wounded soul. Her root was Allah God and His Christ, and her love for Allah and the wonderful preaching and guidance of her father. She therefore offered the gift of her being and life to all of us who have benefited from her life, starting with the songs that she sang in church and every song that she recorded, whether gospel or otherwise, all touched the soul, all touched the souls of those who were uplifted by the majesty of her voice. Her songs, her soul, and her voice did not only reach our ears, but reached our hearts, our souls, and our spirits to lift us above where we were and caused us to survive the horror, the tyranny of our painful existence as ex-slaves, free slaves, Jim Crow sufferers. Our souls yearned for relief. She supplied the balm to our pain. And in 1972, when I, Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan speaking, when I was minister of New York City, Temple number 7, the police attacked our mosque. Within a few hours, Aretha Franklin came to the mosque, to my office, and said that she saw the news and came as quickly as she could to stand with us and offer us her support. She asked me if Reverend Jesse Jackson had been there to show support. I said, not yet. She said, he'll be here within 48 hours. Reverend Jackson came and stood with the Muslims. We marveled at her show of courage, fearlessness, which was rooted in her profound love for her people and her desire for justice for us. Her activism, her selflessness, caused her to stand with Dr. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement as she joined the struggle of our people for liberty, equity, and justice. I, Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan speaking, am personally grateful to Allah for her presence in this world. I am grateful that her voice caused many to survive another day, another week, another year. She could never have known how many lives her songs, her soul, have actually saved. Allah God has taken this precious soul back to Himself. We, however, are left with the sweet memory of our communion with her. We thank Allah God for her. We praise Allah for the gift He gave to her for us and the world. I will cherish her life, her voice, and her soul, and remember her with deep and abiding love for what she did for me, our people, and for all of humanity who were blessed by her time and service amongst us Signed, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, servant, national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Lost Foundation of Islam in the West. That is a beautiful, beautiful letter and sentiment from a great man, a man who I know is my teacher and guide. Do you have any comments on that letter, Sister Tangela?
It was simply beautiful. It was a beautiful letter, and we really, really appreciate her for standing up with us.
Absolutely. We thank Allah for her. May Allah bless her soul and bless her works, that they may multiply.
Yes. Before moving to the next article, I want to at least state her final resting place.
Yes.
Franklin will be buried in a 24-karat gold-plated Promethean casket made of solid bronze. The interior is finished with champagne velvet, with Franklin's title, Queen of Soul, and her name, Aretha Franklin, embroidered in the casket with gold metallic thread. I know. She wore red on Tuesday, powder blue on Wednesday, rose gold on Thursday, and gold lame today.
Wow.
She was dressed in a sparkling, full-length gold dress with sequin heels for her final outfit. She will be buried at the Woodlawn Cemetery alongside her late family members, including her father, the Reverend C.L. Franklin.
Wow.
Yes.
Well,
a service fit for a queen.
A service fit for a queen indeed, and like many kings and queens of the past, especially in ancient Egypt, when you got that much gold in your tomb,
24-karat gold plated.
somebody is thinking something unrighteous.
I hope not.
And I pray that they got 24-hour security at that place that she's there, and they got motion sensors and all that, because that thing is going to be on eBay, or something like that. You don't tell nobody that thing made of 24-karat gold. I'd have told them I painted it.
I know.
You don't tell people hungry out here.
That is true.
You don't tell hungry folk that you got $500,000 worth of gold or whatever it is down in the thing. They'll go to Egypt and get that. They took the gold cap off of the Egyptian pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza. They took the gold cap off of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they would do to the 24-karat gold thing? So we pray that nothing like that happens.
We do.
Yes, ma'am. So what else we got in the news?
Our next article, we want to give kudos to Andrew Gilman, who won the Democratic primary for the Florida governor seat. In Florida, he is the first African-American major party nominee for the governor of the state of Florida.
All right.
He is now the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, and he raised $1 million in the first 24 hours of his nomination. Black man. Yes.
Black man, that's right.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So what's your comment on that, sister?
I think it's a beautiful thing. We need to stand behind this brother. All those of you all in Florida, get out and vote so we can have a black governor over Florida.
Black governor. Florida, every time I look at these election results, whether it be President Obama, if you remember back in 2000 during the whole crisis with the Al Gore and George Bush Jr., I remember helping out the NAACP with that election in Hampton Roads, Virginia. The whole thing was Florida. If you remember.
Exactly. It sure has always been.
And if we can control Florida, or if we can control Georgia and all these states where black people at, then we can create our own reality.
That is true.
So shout out to that brother, Andrew Gillum. Politics is tricky, as we're going to find out in our interview with Sister Cynthia Mckinney, if she's forthcoming soon. And, what comments do you have on that, sister?
I'm just proud of Brother Andrew Gilman, and we pray and hope that he'll have a successful run for governor, and I pray that everyone get out and vote and go to the polls.
That's right.
And voice your opinion.
I'll say this real quick before we go to the next article. However you feel about voting, brothers and sisters, it's like this. If you don't like something that's going on politically and you did not vote, then be quiet.
Can't voice your opinion.
I'll say it again. If you don't like what's going on politically, whether it be local elections, state elections, or federal government elections, and you didn't vote for whatever reason, just don't have an opinion.
Yes.
Just take what you get because somebody else is thinking for you. All right. Yes, ma'am. So what do we have?
The next article talks about Trump wants Attorney General Jeff Sessions to lock up Omarosa. Unfortunately, Omarosa has been a thorn in the White House side since she was fired.
Right.
But your president wants her to be locked up because because unfortunately for him, he fears what's in her book, and he fears of what tapes that she may have on him.
Right. As well he should.
Yeah, that's it.
So, brothers and sisters, real quick before we go to the next article, this is how white men think at their core. I mean, look at buy my book, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman. I have a whole section on there on the psychology of Caucasian males. The original aggressor, the original hater, the original misogynist, the original rapist, the original whatever you want to call it, started with Caucasians, particularly Caucasian males. And so this is how they think.
That is how they think.
You either with me or you against me, all or nothing. So that article is on Facebook, Nat Turner Library Radio. Go ahead with the next article.
Trump should address black genocide in the U.S. instead. This article is, there is no white genocide in South Africa. In fact, the case for concern should be the black genocide plaguing both America and South Africa. These were the comments made by economic freedom fighter leader Julius Malema?
Malema, it looks like Malema.
In response to the U.S. President Donald Trump's tweet on South Africa's decision to expropriate land without compensation.
Wow. Trump
called a storm in the early hours of Thursday morning when he took to his social media account, like he always do, saying that South Africa land and farm seizures and expropriations and large-scale killing of farmers is, he just can't believe it's happening. So, so the economic freedom fighter leader, Julius Malema, says that, Trump needs to be worried about the United States, not about what's happening in South Africa.
You say it again.
He needs to be worried about what's happening in America, not what's happening in South Africa.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. And the leader goes on to say that he's warning South Africans that if they don't opt for the EFF next year, they should be ready for exploration of the land and consequences that should follow. The leader suggested that similar to what happened after the Zimbabwe government exploration of land, South Africa may also face sanctions for the act. He also added that there are already white farmers who are receiving military training so they can act when the land exploration actually starts beginning.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So they said be ready and be prepared, South Africans, for retaliation.
Well, Sister Katanza, do you have a comment on that article?
Well, my comment is that, sometimes it's time to fight. South Africa has been under genocide for colonization for so long that it's time they took those lands inappropriately. They just took the land from our people, and it's time to give it back to the people.
Absolutely.
And
well said.
And we have to fight for that, then we need to fight for it.
Well said, Sister Tangela. Brothers and sisters, let me put it in perspective that for those who listen to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show, and we're coming up on the interview of Sister Cynthia Mckinney coming up soon. If she's able to make it with us tonight, but I just have to say this, brothers and sisters, it's real simple. The elephant in the room in this discussion about race relations, particularly in Africa itself, has to do with how the European colonies, I'll say it again, the European colonials, which means that they took their military might, went into Africa, took the land from the people militarily, not, did treaties and all that. Sometimes they have a treaty here and there, but they just took it from the South Africans, as Zimbabweans and all this other stuff. And now that the people of South Africa, and this brother, the economic freedom fighter Julius Malema, he's saying, look, black genocide is plaguing America and South Africa. So in other words, white folk, basically, we talk about, what's his name from Belgium, who did in my book, Brothers and Sisters, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind. I outlined the biggest genocide that no one's talking about outside of America was right there in, that area of Rwanda where the Belgium, King Leopold II, they said he killed over 20 million Africans. took the land, all that, made their country, Belgium, rich. Now nobody even talking about it. So in that spirit, brothers and sisters, black people have a right to take that land back. But, Sister Tangela, real quick, do you see how merciful this is?
Yes.
Okay, our brother Robert Mugabe said, look, you got a certain time to get out.
Right.
White folk didn't do that. They just came in and took the land from the Native Americans. They just took the land from us in Africa. They just killed us off. They didn't give no warning. That's how merciful it is. So if politically who are saying, no, they shouldn't do this, and in fact we're going to fight against that, then, hey, you're no different than the slave masters and the colonials from the past. This is a war for truth. And our sister Cynthia Mckinney has been on that front line with that. And she's going to talk to us about, the diaspora of the African continent and how black America and all the political schemes that's been going on that behind the scenes that we don't know about sometimes. So, yeah, brothers and sisters, this is going on. So the brother Julius Malema from South Africa made it clear. Trump, you got a problem with black people in America. Don't worry about what's going on in South Africa.
Pretty much.
That's right. So what else you got for us?
The former Texas cop found guilty of murder in shooting unarmed teenager Jordan Edwards.
Wow.
Roy Oliver, a former Texas police officer, was convicted on Tuesday of murder for killing Jordan Edwards, an unarmed black 15-year-old who was leaving a party in April of 2007. He will be sentenced up to life. He can be sentenced up to life in prison.
Wow.
Yes. The Lee Merritt, the lawyer representing the Edwards family, said this is the first time in over 40 years since a police officer in Texas has been convicted.
First time in 40 years.
40 years.
And how many black boys and women, black men and black women have been murdered in Texas by police unjustifiably?
Yes.
I would guess thousands.
Exactly, in the state of Texas. Exactly.
And this is the first time, 2018.
Yes, and they said more than 40 years.
And more than 40 years.
Yeah, it took place in 1973 for the last conviction of a police officer.
Sister Tangela, this country is the laughing stock of the world when it comes to human rights. And our sister Cynthia Mckinney, she talks a lot around the country, around the world, about the atrocities of what America's done around the world. And see, she was there in Congress, so she's going to be able to tell us an insight to not just what happened to her in the office, how the ADL and other Jewish groups got her out of there, but, what is America doing around the world in Libya and places like Syria and places like that? This is an example of that. Brothers and sisters, it's just time to separate. That's all I can say.
That's true.
It's just time to separate. So what else you got for us?
The next article is racial slur found on Duke University's campus, Duke University's Black Culture Center. The North Carolina local Fox affiliate, Fox 8, reports a racial incident on the Duke University campus in Durham. An email was sent out to the students informing them from the President Vincent Price saying that a racial slur appeared on a sign at the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture.
I wonder how it got there.
Yeah, so right now they're on an investigation to try to figure out how and who did this, and hopefully Duke
University. Well, Sister Tangela, you have any comments on that other than that?
Yeah, I think that, unfortunately there's been some other things happening, in Duke and UNC, and they're just trying to figure out, who's inciting all this racial, stuff. So we got to see what's happening.
Okay, great. All right. So I just got informed that our sister Cynthia Mckinney is on the line.
Okay.
And she's listening to our news hour. Sister Cynthia McKinney, we thank you for holding for us. We'll be done in just a moment. We'll go to a commercial break after this last news, and then we'll get you right on, Sister Cynthia McKinney.
Okay, black women now lead police force in two of America's whitest cities, Seattle and Portland.
Wow.
Seattle and Portland now have a black female chief of police. Danielle Outlaw is 41. She's a former Oakland police commander, has been named the Portland Police Bureau's chief. And Carmen Best, who's 53, she's been now named the Seattle Police Department chief. They both will be sworn in this week.
Wow. Well, Do you have any comments on that, Sister Cynthia?
Yeah, well, first of all, Seattle is 70% white.
70% white.
And Portland is 76% white. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two young black female women actually come in and try to tackle on some of the racial divisions that are happening in both of those cities.
Well, you know, I shout outs to our sisters.
Yes.
Once again, the black woman is at the forefront of the fight.
Yes.
Whether it be sisters like Sister Cynthia Mckinney, whether it be sisters like Fannie Lou Hamer down, back in the 50s for voting rights in Mississippi, whether it be our sisters that were in NASA, creating the very ability for America to go out into space, whether it be sisters who created Black Lives Matter. I mean, the black woman is at the top of the list when it comes to starting something behind enemy lines.
Right. True.
Which is why I dedicated my book to the war for the black mind. The enemy knows that without a intelligent, strong black woman, you can't have a strong black base. So they always come after our sisters, and that's why I titled my book "Checkmate: The War for the Black Mind," Part 1, The Black Woman. So yes, ma'am. Yes,
and that leads us to our next article about Stacey Abrams. My debt shouldn't disqualify me for governor of Georgia. The sad reality of Fortune.com, this is an article from Fortune.com on Stacey Abrams. One of the traditional rites of passage for political candidates is to reveal their financial status. And unfortunately, Sister owes the IRS over $50,000 in deferred tax payments, which she currently have a repayment plan, and she has over $170,000 in credit card and student loan debt. But she goes on and explains the reasons for her debt and that she is trying to repay her debt.
Wow.
And I agree, that should not disqualify her for governor of Georgia. We all have debt. I don't know what one person don't have debt. So to say that she doesn't know how to manage her money, you can't look at someone that has debt and say they don't know how to manage their money. Unfortunately, she's had some misfortunes in her life with her family, that she's had to take care of two households. Even though she may have a six-figure salary, it's hard trying to maintain a household for her parents and maintain her own household, paying for law degrees and for colleges.
Right.
That's very expensive, and you can literally rack up debt quickly.
Right.
Just from those two things. So.
Well, the same enemies that came against our sister Cynthia Mckinney, Maxine Waters, the late brother Gus Savage, may he rest in peace, Congressman, and many, many others. It's the same people coming against Kasim Reed.
Yeah, that's our next article. Exactly.
And our sister here, they just bringing up mess.
Yes,
Kwame Kilpatrick, they just bring up mess on these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's our next article?
Next article by the agency.com is in regards to subpoena seeks Reed travel info and much more. The federal investigation at Atlanta City Hall corruption has now zeroed in on the former Mayor Kasim Reed, his meetings, his movements, and justifications for his taxpayer-funded travel during his entire 8 years in office.
Wow.
According to a subpoena, the federal grand jury demanded that the city turn over calendars, credit card statements, and expense reports dating back to 2010 for all of his employees of the office of the mayor.
What are they looking for?
They're just trying to find anything that they can possibly find to say that this brother was stealing money from the city of Atlanta.
Wow. I mean, that Jew is something else, because the first people to even mention any possible corruption was the news media, which is owned by the Jewish organization.
Exactly.
The same people that attack our sister, Cynthia Mckinney, the same people who run the Federal Reserve, same people that do this, that, same people who call the Nation of Islam anti-Semitic, the same people who, are training the police forces now, Israeli government. These are the people who searching every record. We want your phone records.
They want everything.
We want your bank statements.
They want everything
from a Pope brother who's not even in office anymore.
Right, and not just him, but all
his employees. What they want? His mama's records too?
Probably so.
His sister,
but that subpoena will apply to more than 400 people.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
The mayor's office.
What does this man do?
Exactly. It's unbelievable.
But see, the thing is, he's also, when the minister came here in 2016, the Honorable Ms. Luz Farrakhan, he also embraced the Honorable Ms. Luz Farrakhan. So that's all it takes, is embrace a black revolutionary, and the Jewish organizations are against you.
Yes.
Is that our last news for tonight?
That is, sir.
Sister Tangela, we thank you again for another wonderful news.
Thank you for the.
And do you have any final comments before we go into the next segment?
I want to go to go to our website page on Facebook and go. You can see all these articles there. And
That's right.
For yourself.
Nat Turner Library Radio on Facebook. Sister Tangela, thank you. Continue to listen in. And brothers and sisters who are listening, right after this news, we are going to have our sister, the interview of the hour, our sister Dr. Cynthia Mckinney, forthcoming. You are listening to Nat Turner Library Radio Show.
Nat Turner Library Radio.
Nat Turner Library Radio.
Nat Turner Library Radio. It's your brother here, Michael Muhammad from Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Brothers and sisters, I have recently launched my new writing, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, which is dedicated to the study of the mind of the black woman and how our enemies have attacked the black woman to get to ultimately the black community. But I also have a website, bromichaelmuhammad.com, BROMichaelmuhammad.com. That's bromichaelmuhammad.com. On this, you will see me. You will see the M6X apparel, which has beautiful shirts, 100% organic black shirt. For the sisters, we have the Be Yourself, Love Yourself shirt. The shirt that says, I'm not a toy for a little boy, I need a man with a plan. And for our conscious sisters, modesty is loving yourself. When you disrespect women, you destroy the future for everyone. We have the shirts of 100% organic black, which gives all the attributes of our organic black man and woman. We have Honor Thy Mother and Thy Father. We have the 100% Black God shirt, one of the most popular. We have the Know Your Enemy shirt with the atrocities that have happened to the black man and woman of North America on the back. And we also have the Checkmate book cover shirt in many different colors. We also have fragrances are available. You just simply have to tell me which one you need. And these are all the things you can find on bromichaelmuhammad.com. That's bromichaelmuhammad.com. The website, you can go to it from your e-reader. You can go to it from your tablet. You can go to it from your PC. You can also reach me directly at michaelasia33@gmail.com. It's michaelasia33@gmail.com. You may also call me direct at 678-906-6306. Peace.
Peace, you guys. It's Nadira here from Easy Light Sources. And I just wanted to let you know that the Easy Light Sources food guide is now available for $10 on easylightsources.org. The Easy Light Sources food guide covers 18 fruits and vegetables commonly found in any grocery store. If you're looking for ways to feel better in your life and to raise your vibrations, one of the easiest ways to incorporate some light into your life is through the foods that you eat. If you're interested in going into a plant-based lifestyle, the food guide also has your back with a few essays in the back and a few recipes to help get you started. Once again, the Easy Light Sources food guide is now available. Purchase your copy today at easylightsources.org.
FinalCall.com. FinalCall.com. One word, FinalCall.com. The award-winning website for the realest and most accurate black news available on the planet. FinalCall.com. Fair, reasonable, accurate, and inclusive. We are a unifying website. FinalCall.com. Go there today.
Back, brothers and sisters, you are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. I am your host, Brother Michael Muhammad, executive producer of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. On tonight's subject matter is Exposing Satan, first-hand account of political manipulation of the black community. And, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, you've been listening to my show for a few years. Those of you who know me personally, you know, Brother Michael likes to get straight to the facts, right to the source. And I couldn't think of anyone more worthy to talk on the subject on black political manipulation of the black community, or first-hand accounts of political manipulation of the black community, than our sister who's on the line with us right now, former Congresswoman, former presidential candidate, our sister, Dr. Cynthia Mckinney. Sister Cynthia Mckinney, are you with us there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Greetings and welcome to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to come on. I hope that my sound is okay, because I looked around and realized that I didn't have headphones and microphone and all that fancy stuff. So what you get is what I have.
Oh, no, I can hear you loud and clear. As long as you can hear me loud and clear, I think we were fine.
Yes, I hear you very well.
Well, you know, for those that are listening who are not familiar with our sister, I gave a brief synopsis of our sister, Cynthia McKinney. You have a wonderful website, Sister McKinney, giving a history of all that you've done around the world. You are very well known in the world of conspiracy exposure. You went to an event recently called the Red Pill event, I think it's called, where there's a lot of different speakers that were there that were trying to expose some of the hidden secrets that make the world what it is, and you were one of the presenters there. So I thank you for going there and representing our people, you know, with truth and information that is helpful to all people, actually.
Well, you know, the Red Pill, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's the Red Pill Conference. Well, anyway, he's trying to start a university as well, and I look forward to participating in that. Maybe I have a course up on sort of maybe deep state, you know, sort of like a deep state watch kind of course, how you can understand and track the movement of the deep state so that you don't fall into it.
Right.
Which is some of what we're going to talk about tonight. But the founder of the Red Pill Conference is G. Edward Griffin, and I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he wrote the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Now, there have been others.
I've heard of that book. Yeah, I've heard of that book.
This is a must-read. Since you're representing the library, this is a must-read for our people, because basically he's the one. Now, there were others who wrote about how the Federal Reserve came to be the central bank for the United States. But his book is the one that makes it very clear, not, you know, it's not that very, you know, sort of highbrow writing. His book is more like a mystery, a drama. And in fact, the whole story of how the Federal Reserve came to be is like a drama and a mystery, because they came down to Georgia, to Jekyll Island, and they met in secret. Nobody was allowed to utter anybody's name, so they were all given code names. They all came down on a private train, and they had this meeting, and they decided that they were going to, you know, they had found their boy who would introduce the legislation in the Congress and shepherd it through. And then just on the eve of Christmas, when no one is in the Congress, they hold a vote, and that's how we get the Federal Reserve.
Yes, I heard that story, you know, back, you know, I'm in my 40s. Back when I was in my early 20s, I heard this story from some friends. And then I got the book, The Unseen Hand and Behold a Pale Horse, and There's another book that I have in my current library, a couple books on how the history of the Federal Reserve got to be. But this book that you mentioned, The Creature from Jekyll Island, I just put it on our Nat Turner page so people can order it. I'm going to order it because we need all the information we can get on how the Federal Reserve got started so we can make a better decision as citizens of this country.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Well, you had a great discussion about U.S. foreign policy. I know we talked about earlier this week what we'd like to mention on the show. And one of the things that I think was my key point that I wanted to bring to the audience tonight has to do with the political manipulation of the black vote, the black community, and in general the whole United States population. You're an expert at that. You were there. You were behind the scenes. And back in 2011, Sister McKinney, you had an interview with Press TV. I believe they're in Iran, I believe. Mm. And
yes,
one of the most in Iran, yes. One of the most revealing things that changed the way I pursued the whole reality of exposing the satanic forces behind America was based on that interview you had done. And when I saw that, it changed my reality, because what I wanted to do is I said, you know what, we need to help Sister Cynthia McKinney and others just like her to get this information out. And so I've been fighting vehemently to get that reality that you had mentioned out to the people. And that interview, you talked about the Israeli pledge and how the Congress people here in the United States were told that they had to have a pledge or dedication to Israeli lobby groups and to the purpose of Israel and the, recognizing Jerusalem as a capital, the whole thing that right there. Would you like to expand with us on that a little tonight?
Well, basically, that was an interview that was done quite a while ago, but it was sort of path-breaking in that it exposed sort of an open wound in the body politic of the United States, and that comes into play, or the wound it is exposed when we deal with the Israel lobby. What I'd like to do basically is I've got a couple of articles picked out that I'd like for us to kind of talk about, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I will start with, so the idea is that the black community is manipulated. And what I have to say is that I would agree with you that it's manipulated. And in large measure, I sadly come to the conclusion that the black community is manipulated because the black community is starved for information. And so when you don't have information, it's very difficult to make decisions that basically are, how can I say, effective in terms of accomplishing a goal or moving us closer to a stated goal. Now, one of the things in which we demonstrate our lack of information, I'm just looking at this newspaper article from the Atlanta Daily World, and of course, this is it would be a wonderful news outlet, except that I wonder the extent to which we're getting news as opposed to misinformation. Or maybe I should say fake news, given our president. Well, so here's the Atlanta Daily World, and the title of the article is 5 Ways to Increase Voter Turnout in African American Communities. Okay? 5 ways to increase voter turnout in African American communities. 1, eliminate strict voter ID laws. 2, prevent unnecessary poll closures. 3, prohibit harmful voter purges. 4, prioritize African American voters in political outreach. 5, recruit African American candidates for political office. And then the article gives us our conclusion. But for those of us who are kind of steeped in the ways in which the black community is targeted for its misinformation, I would say that something very important is missing. The title of this article is 5 Ways to Increase Voter Turnout.
It's 9 o'clock.
In African American communities. Well, I would think that the best way to increase voter turnout in the African American community is to have a political system that actually delivers something to the African American community.
Absolutely.
And so the African American community then must press a demand after it has organized itself to press a demand for a policy outcome. Now, there's nothing in this article that talks about a policy outcome. All it does is it makes it easier for us to go to the poll and vote, but right. Dr. King said we have to have something for which to vote, right? And Absolutely. There's none of that in this prescription that we're given in the Atlanta Daily World. So it's not enough for us to look at what is on a piece of paper. It's probably maybe even more important for us to be aware of what's not on the paper.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I may, Sister McKinney, brothers and sisters, I took the AtlantaDailyWorld.com article that Sister Dr. Cynthia McKinney just referred to, and I put it on our Nat Turner Library radio page on Facebook, so you can also follow along. Thank you, Sister.
Great. That's beautiful. Okay, right. So now I've got another article here that's interesting. The title of that article is The Democratic Party Apologizes to Black Voters. So now I want to know, so what good is that? It doesn't put a dime in your pocket, and it doesn't put public policy on your table. So we get an apology, and maybe that makes people feel good, but at the end of the day, you can't take that apology to the bank. So the way we think cannot be channeled by news outlets that mischannel our sort of activities.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I've got another one. I don't know if we're talking or thinking about this, but we'd better start thinking about the 2020 census. I've posted on my Facebook page a few articles about how the 2020 census is going to affect the black community in the U.S. One, we've got to deal with the census is what determines who gets representation and where that representation is centered. It determines how much federal funds flow into the states and who in the particular states gets those federal funds. So this is a huge issue. It might be a sleeper issue for now, but for your audience, it's something that I would recommend that people start paying attention to. And the idea that undocumented aliens will be counted in the census, thereby rewarding those areas with high concentrations of undocumented aliens who get counted, rewarding those states with more representation because there's going to be an apportionment that will be done based on population flows. And if these population flows are not U.S. citizens and U.S. voters, then what actually is that going, what kind of impact is that going to have on the black community? These are questions we need to be thinking about literally right now, because thinking about it tomorrow might be too late. Because I guarantee you there are other people who are thinking about this. This is a critical one. Say, for example, you're in a state that is undocumented alien rich, and these people are encouraged to get counted on the census. That means that funds are going to flow into that state. It means that that state is going to get more representatives in terms of congressional districts. They'll get more congressional districts. All of that. And how does that then affect the black community that hardly votes at all anyway?
Right.
So this is a sleeper issue we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. And to your point, I just posted an article from Bloomberg.com, which was dated earlier in January, to the very subject that you're referring to. There, Bloomberg is actually saying that Arizona, Colorado, Montana, North Carolina, and Oregon, along with Texas, Florida, and a few other states, would be gaining seats. And a lot of these states, particularly Arizona, Colorado, Texas, and Florida, are immigrant states, to your point. And, our community is not represented at all in that census increase, because they're not anticipating an increase in black population. They just wanted to
That's right.
represent, so in fact, they're trying to decrease our population, so yes, ma'am. So to your point, I just put an article up onto that, so that way it validates exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's extremely critical for us. Okay. So now just moving on to the Forward magazine. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No.
But the Forward magazine is a news magazine that I think is published actually daily. And it's online under forward.com. It used to be Jewish Forward, but now it's just forward.com. But it's a very good resource knowing what's going on in the Jewish community. Of course, the Red Pill conference that I attended was basically people from, it was held in Spokane, Washington, and people from Utah and Montana. Those are the communities that basically were represented there. A few people came from Georgia. But this was like, for me, the experience was walking into a room and you don't know a single person in there. But I've been trying to do that to myself, or for myself actually, so that I could expand not only my sort of personal horizons, but also expand my understanding of just exactly what's kind of moving and shaking in the United States. And so I did that, and then I left there, and later on I went, just a few weeks after that, I found myself at the Libertarian Party National Convention down in New Orleans, and went there, and of course, there's nobody, well, I participated on a panel, and I knew the person who invited me there, but the topic on that panel was when are black people going to look at other political parties? And so, again, I'm in a room with hundreds of people, and I don't know a single person there. This is healthy, though, for us to get outside of our comfort zone and try and understand what's going on with other people, but more importantly, trying to share with them an authentic view of if they really do want change, or if they really do, as in the sentiment with the Red Pill Expo. That's what it was, the Red Pill Expo. The majority sentiment there is we want to take our country back. Well, you're not exactly going to be able to take your country back by yourself. And so then you had better expose yourself to the way some other people think, so that you're better able to, how can I say, you're better able to make coalitions and alliances that can help you achieve your goal, or that goal in particular. So anyway, getting back to the Forward magazine, there's a couple of headlines that I'd like to just mention to your listeners. One is Jewish mega donors give $1.2 million to Florida Republican in monkey controversy.
Oh,
so
God.
I have a lot of white supporters, and most of what I post on Facebook and on Twitter is just about the wars, right? And I'm so, if I could say that I have a persona, it's that I'm pro-peace and anti-war, and that's the persona that I have by which other people would recognize me, I think. And but that anti-war posture that I have doesn't mean that I'm not black. And it doesn't mean that I don't represent an authentic black point of view. I'm not trying to impress people. I'm not trying to sell out. I'm not trying to get what they have. I'm not trying to do any of that. I am just, one, trying to know myself, and then two, knowing them, because Sun Tzu, who is one of the greatest military strategist that the world has ever known. His writing is 2,500 years old, and it was through the writings of Sun Tzu, as opposed to U.S. Or so I should say Western. He's Chinese. He represents the Eastern way of thinking, and then you have Clausewitz, who's German, who represents sort of the Western way of thinking, and the U.S. has prosecuted its wars based on Clausewitz, but when the United States went into Vietnam, they had to deal with Sun Tzu, a whole different kind of way of thinking, and of course they lost. And so anyway, I don't even know how I got into this.
So you were talking about
the two things that Sun Tzu. So the two things that Sun Tzu says is, one, know yourself, and two, know your enemy. So
that's right.
Those are like the two most important things. And so I in order to know my environment so that I can make better decisions, I have to actually know my environment with full importance on the word know, which means that I spend a great deal of my time reading. And I read everything. I read everything from around the world, English language mostly, but I do know how to speak French, so I read French so I get a different point of view, or the African continent, I can read the French from the African continent. So anyway, the important thing is just to know, to read everything. Okay, so this headline struck me.
Yes, if I may interrupt you, I want to ask a question about that article. Brothers and sisters who are listening, I just posted the article that Sister Cynthia Mckinney is referring to on the Nat Turner page. It's about the Sister McKinney. It's the Jewish mega donor, Sheldon Adelson, I believe his name is.
Yes, yeah, yeah, but I'm not done yet. So,
yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
There's this article. We're just looking at Florida right now, and so here we've got Sheldon Adelson giving $1.2 million to Florida Republicans. Okay, and there's a lot more of these kind of examples. I just want to point this out. Okay, so then I go to my next tab, which is TampaBay.com. Andrew Gillum gets another $650,000 from billionaire donors Soros and Steyer. So basically what you have is a table of billionaires who know each other very well. And so one side of the table of billionaires has decided that they're going to support the DeSantis, who is the Trump-endorsed GOP candidate, and you've got another set of billionaires who have decided that they are going to support Andrew Gillum. And so basically, I think this is a marvelous metaphor for the state of U.S. politics today, where you have, they also just happen to be Jewish, billionaires at one table, and on one side, they're squaring off. They're squaring off, but in the end, the question I asked on my Twitter was, who wins? In a situation like this, who wins? And I guarantee you that the people who win are not the candidates. Only one of the candidates are going to win. But I can guarantee you that the people sitting at that table who are giving the political dollars are the winners of in this particular state. Now, what does that mean when you multiply that by 50? And then the next thing I want to just ask people to think about, your audience to think about, is what does that mean for us? Does it mean that Black Lives Matter only when George Soros gives us $1 million? Is that what it means? It means, when do Black lives really matter? And when do Black candidates matter? And what do you expect of a Black candidate who's basically financed by that table that's in that room in which there are only billionaires who have, these are very serious political questions that we need to be asking ourselves. And let me just, if I bring it on home,
yes.
George Soros giving big money to Stacey Abrams. So now we've got two Black gubernatorial candidates. And these Black gubernatorial candidates are sponsored basically by the same individual, which actually is one of those billionaires that's sitting in that room at the table. So now I want to expand the conversation just a little bit and take you to forward.com. And this is about Julia Salazar, where the Jewish community, she's a Latin American Jew. And Julia Salazar, there's a conversation going on in the Jewish community as to whether she's quote unquote Jewish enough. And so this is an article, an opinion article that's discussing whether, what this means for the Jewish community. And then there's another, again, at the forward, Alma Hernandez, Mexican-American Jewish woman, wins Arizona primary. And so now you've got the rise of the Latin American Jews who are beginning to get involved in Latino and Latina, Latinx, Jews that are getting involved in the political system. And so this is just a part of our political milieu that we need to understand. What it means, I think, is something that the black community needs to try and understand. What does this mean? Where are the black billionaires, and where is their political money going? Now, and you don't even have to be a black billionaire, but in order to make a difference politically, you could. We do have the ability to field a room of black millionaires, but are they sitting at a political table in a room?
Right.
I don't know if they are. Well, and so the kind of political system that we have, we're important on one day, and that is voting day. And if we are not organized to take advantage of the transactions that take place on voting day, then we will get nothing. Hence, you can get the article in the Atlanta Daily World that talks about increasing black voter turnout, but doesn't talk about getting anything for that turnout in terms of public policy. Absolutely. Now, we are all familiar with the way the political system works, and that is, the way it works is that we get a little street money on election day, but for the black community, and the reason the black community is where it is, there was one article which I probably have here, I have to find it though, of black wealth. Actually, we have none. And so our political participation is not returning resources to our community. What we get is the one-day payoff of the get out the vote money, and that's it. So basically what I'm describing is a situation where there is no respect whatsoever for black voting power. And as long as this room of billionaires and millionaires can determine what the black candidate is that is going to be dangled in front of us without actually making, and we surge in that direction without a demand for public policy, we'll continue to get nothing.
Absolutely. If I may ask a question, Dr. Cynthia Mckinney, I, as you were talking, I was thinking about what Michael Moore, the documentary maker, you're familiar with Michael Moore. He had a documentary called Capitalism, A Love Story. And he introduced me to a term that was created by Citigroup called plutonomy, where they were trying to introduce back in the early 2000s this idea of, instead of America being a democracy based on capitalism as an economy standard. They were trying to introduce, this is the people at Citigroup, the idea of transferring this to a plutonic, where only the rich have a thought about what is to be done. Now, that was over a decade ago. That was about, 12 years ago when this was brought forward by Michael Moore. And so what you're describing right now is the actual execution of it, where we don't have a voice as a people, black or particularly in the black community. We don't have a voice at all. And the only people whose voices it seems to matter, particularly those in the elections, is that of the billionaires. Would I be correct in that statement?
Yes, you're absolutely right, but it doesn't have to be that way. And this is the thing that is so frustrating to me, because even if we don't have a single person sitting in that room at that table on election day, our votes, to the extent that they are counted, are important. And so then, what can we leverage out of the system for our votes? Now, you can't say, for example, that black people don't have money, because black people have a lot of money. I'm looking around and I see Chinese restaurant, a little dinky Chinese restaurant in the black community, really in the hood of the black community. Now, they're not there because they love black people. They're there because they love green. And black people have that. Even in the most deprived areas, you can find a Chinese restaurant because black people will buy Chinese food. Now, I'm not saying don't buy the Chinese food, but what I am saying is that we say we don't have, but we do have. And so what we have to do is prioritize differently. Therefore, we cannot look at someone who wore a wire for the FBI and say, okay, that's my leader, because that person is really for somebody else, right? He's working for somebody else.
That's for sure.
We cannot look at someone who helped in the assassination of one of our truly authentic leaders and say that person is our leader. I mean, we have it all wrong. I have a friend from Haiti who characterizes black Americans this way. He says that we want white-approved leaders. And as long as we want white-approved leaders, then you're going to get the leader that's sanctioned by Time Magazine and Newsweek and the Atlanta Constitution. You're going to get the New York Times favorite, but that's not going to be the person who's going to deliver to you.
Well, Sister Dr. Cynthia Mckinney, I have a question from our chairman who's not on with us tonight. He's at another meeting, but it's in reference to this very subject, so I think it's apropos that I mention it now. You know how black youth and in general, white youth included, were, well, I'll say in this case black youth, when President Obama was elected, he talked to the youth, through social media. There was a big fervor for that because it's clear that black youth didn't show up for Hillary Clinton's election or for, what's the other guy that was on the Democratic ticket? I forgot his name, but, no one showed up for this election, and that's how Trump got in. When I say no one, meaning in our community, very few of us showed up.
Right.
And so how do we get now? You've been there, you've done that, you've analyzed this. So you're about the only one I know that can answer this question directly, without theory, but with actual application.
Well, at least I hope I can. I don't know.
Well, no, I guess the question is like this: how do we mobilize black youth, black people in general, particularly the youth, to be excited like they were in 2008 and in 2012, like we were then? How do you get someone to be excited? Because I know for me, existentiality keeps me in the voting realm. So in other words, as I was telling my wife earlier, I believe this: if you don't vote as a person, you don't have a say in anything. So my father instilled that in me when I was like 12 years old, because every time he voted, he brought me with him, and I was honored to go there. He when I was real young, when I was 7 years old, I saw my mother voting. I went with her. So when I was 18 and I was able to vote, I've been voting in every election, local and national, since I was 18 years old, and I'm in my 40s now, because I know if I don't do that, then I don't have a voice. So I guess the question is, that's my motivation. That's Brother Michael's motivation. But for our people, most of us seem to need something more than that. So what do you see as the most effective means in getting black people out to vote when it comes to purpose, from your experience in the political realm?
Well, I'm not the right one to ask that question of, because quite frankly, I brought millions of dollars into the district. I was present at the district. I did district days where I would sit there all day and all night if it took it, to see everybody who came to see me. In fact, the state of Georgia is still spending the money that I brought in from D.C. Wow. But if I knew the answer to your question, I'd still be in Congress. So doing a good job is not what will motivate black people. So what will motivate black people? My Haitian friend, I go back to my Haitian friend, who says white approval.
Wow. So we still a slave, basically.
Yeah. Steve Biko, this is what I tell my students. Steve Biko, the great anti-apartheid leader, said the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Wow. That's why I titled my book, Sister McKinney, Checkmate, the War for the Black Mind. It's a research study into that. You are correct. That's what my research shows. The black mind is the only thing that the enemies of freedom around history, if you go back to time of ancient Rome, the Roman Caesars wanted to control their people through the mind of the people. They didn't care about helping the people. So they brought games along to make them feel good about something, even though the Roman Empire was falling. And so I see that today in our community. We have a lot of entertainers. We have comedians, we have actors, we have actresses, we have athletes. But we don't have anyone that's on the news media. Now, mind you, that's in news media that's actually directing us toward political agendas. So it has to be fundamentally done in the streets, so to say, or grassroots organizations. I bear witness to this, and so I'm with you in that. But, I want to make sure I use your time wisely, because we have about another 25 minutes in the show, and I know your time is, limited. So I just wanted to make sure that we were on task. I know you wanted me to mention what was, the connection between U.S. foreign policy and Black America. And if you can quickly talk about U.S. foreign policy, particularly Libya 1986, Libya 2011, Somalia, and Sudan.
Oh, yeah. Well, this conversation went in a completely different direction than what we had talked about in our preliminary conversation. So I guess for those, what I would like to say is that, it's really not necessary for us to pay attention to everything. But we have to be willing to trust those in our community who do. And, well, say, for example, if it's health, then I have my people that I trust. And if it's matters on war, then I have, I would like to think that I would be someone that people would think about when, say, the president is proposing increasing the troops in Afghanistan, that somebody would say, well, let me go see what Cynthia is saying about Afghanistan. What are we doing in Afghanistan? Or whatever. So, but I sometimes I wonder, back in probably 2000 and probably 6 or 7, I was invited to go to Chicago and give a speech. And in that speech, I pronounced the black body politic comatose. And I was lamenting the fact that even an amoeba changes according to its environment. So it is so well tuned into its environment that it can sense when the environment changes. And therefore, it adapts to the changed environment, even an amoeba. But we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again because we have our leaders who are white approved who keep telling us to do the same thing over and over again.
Oh, wow. You sure right.
And then we wonder why nothing changes in our community.
Right.
So, I wish I had, you really did ask a marvelous question, and I wish I had the answer because as far as I'm concerned, I did everything as a representative that a representative is supposed to do. And yet, once I came under criticism, which was very strong criticism,
yes.
From the pro-Israel lobby in this country, from the Zionists, I call them the Ziocons. Once I came under, and they found black people who were more compliant to their wishes, then even if it's a 1 or 2 percentage point drop off, it shouldn't have been so close. But then, of course, my mom always reminds me that those darn electronic voting machines make it very easy to steal elections. And about that, she was right. But, you would not have had the acceptance and the complacency when what happened to me. And so, like when I've had many police of those white Capitol Hill police officers to grab me, but when that one grabbed me, and then it got blown up because that was really a cover for what was going on with Tom DeLay and there was other things that were going on. But when that happened, it would have been so powerful if I had had 8 black guys come and walk everywhere with me. There would have been a completely different outcome.
I agree.
But, it just didn't happen. So, I think that we...
I have a question along that lines, because you follow politics, obviously. This is your life. Our sister, Maxine Waters, however you feel about her, she was under attack, not to the degree you were under attack, but she was under attack a couple months ago, very disrespectfully by not only so-called President Trump, but some of the others in Congress as well. And the thing as a black man that I felt immediately, now I'm in Georgia and she's out in California, but D.C. is up the road, and I'm saying, hey, is there a way for us to get groups of security for our political officials and those that represent us? Because they're not, like yourself, like you were saying, there's no security, physical security, for people like Cory Booker or Maxine Waters or some of those out there that might be trying to fight for us.
In the first place, I would be a bit more discerning about, well, to answer your question, the answer is yes. And if you are, if you have a representative that is so inclined, then there is no problem. Okay. That's one thing. But as I say, you have to have a representative that is so inclined. Understood. Now, so I think that just because we have a representative who has black skin, if they don't deliver public policy to us, we don't have a representation.
Understood.
And the last time I checked, what Dr. King was talking about when he said we have to have something for which to vote is that there's a difference between having a representative and having representation. So you can, all of us, we have representatives. How many of us will get a phone call return from our representative? But representation is quite a different matter. And that's where we fall short, and we continue to fall short. We continue to think that just because someone has black skin, that is both representative, having a representative, and having representation. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. And in fact, our inability to discern the difference when it's a black candidate versus a black candidate is what ends up costing us when we have someone who basically never portrayed the black community as I did not, and then my successor went in there and took some of the money that I got for the state of Georgia and turned it over to the Beltline for gentrification.
Wow.
So you see, but that squarely comes back to our community being able to discern who is the authentic black representative that is providing representation versus the black face that is present in a high place but not necessarily providing representation.
Understood. And honestly, from my research and my analysis, it's very difficult because you had an uphill battle. And, I think the statement your father made, which was, correct me if I'm wrong about what it actually said, but he said, what does Stone Mountain, Georgia have to do with Israel? And if that's a correct statement, that's the battle that black politicians, those that are so inclined to do so, have when they're called anti-Semitic or they're called like Gus Savage, like yourself, or they're called controversial because you want to help some of those politicians. I agree with you. They have no interest whatsoever for the black community or any community. They just want to take special interest money. That's very obvious on both sides, white and black. But I do know for politicians like yourself who have fought for our community, fought for truth for all people, the question becomes, as a citizen, what can we do to support you or support those like you while in office to help combat those special interest groups? Because other than a military operation, which a young, strong, fiery brother like myself would love to do, other than a military operation, is there something politically we can do to usurp the effect of these special interest groups, particularly the Israeli lobby and the Jewish organizations?
But politics is war. And we are engaged in a war. We just don't know it. It's almost like Harriet Tubman, who said she could have freed a whole lot more slaves if they had just known they were slaves. So we have people who are think that they are aware, but they don't understand that we are engaged in a war. And so we do have to think strategically. We have to think tactically. We have to have a plan. We have to be organized. We have to have military-like precision. So it's not inappropriate for us to think these ways. In fact, that was my plea when I went up to Chicago, is that we're comatose politically because we don't even react as a single cell amoeba reacts to its environment. We don't do that. And so, but here's the point that I have reached, and that is that, I've been saying the same thing for about 30 years now, and I'm tired of saying the same thing. And it really is time for other people I would like to have some fun in life. I've never had any fun. I was involved in politics all of my life. And, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail, and I want to bicycle across the country. There are things I want to do. And the situation is such that, black people are spending a whole lot of time hating on Trump instead of recognizing that Trump is creating chaos, and where there is chaos, this is what I grew to learn to say, and that is that he who has a plan in the midst of chaos will win.
Absolutely.
So we have no stake. We have absolutely zero stake in the current political and economic drivers of the United States. When Donald Trump said the system is rigged, we're the first ones who should have said amen.
Right.
And exactly. When he said drain the swamp, we should have got out our hoses, our vacuum. Yeah, we need to drain the swamp because we're the ones who bear the brunt of the rigged system. We're the ones who bear the brunt of a closed economy that's open to everybody else but closed to us. We're the ones. We have no stake in whether it's a Democrat in office or it's a Republican in office. That's not our issue. Our issue is improving ourselves and our community. That's supposed to be our issue. And if we've got somebody in office who's disrupting everything, throwing temper tantrums and doing everything, that's a good thing for us, and we ought to be organizing around what can we get, changes can we make in this system in order to improve ourselves and our community. The other thing is, it would have been a travesty if Hillary Clinton had won. If black people had put Hillary Clinton in office, that would have been a travesty. After what she did to Libya and Haiti, not right. Did in the case of Haiti, because the rape by the Clinton Foundation of the country of Haiti is ongoing as you and I speak.
Yes, ma'am. I agree. And to your point, I want to ask you my final question of the interview, and you can answer it as directly as you want. As a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that I am, our teaching tells us that when you live amongst enemies, you have to separate from an enemy. And inimical behavior, which is a term that I learned over the last few years, is something that America has shown to black people since 1555. So the question becomes, and you've been in politics for all of, you said the last 30 years. The question becomes, do we have the possibility of galvanizing those that are willing amongst us and creating a new political, a new governmental reality for ourselves while on these shores? It's a twofold question based on your experience. I know it's going to be an uphill battle, but can we do it? And I believe we can. We have no choice at this stage. The world, and I'll just say this because years ago I was a driver for Uber, and I had an Indian guy come up to me from India, straight out of India, just picked him up from the airport. And he said he wanted to ask me a question as a black person. He said, we've been watching the news, and, everyone that I know wants to know when black people in America are going to rise up and have a revolution because of everything that America is doing to you guys. I said, what do you mean? He said he has friends from Africa. He has friends from India. He's from India. And he said, I said, well, we're not organized like that. He said, well, why don't you do something for yourself? Create your own territory or something like that. And I just smiled because I said, hey, that is the solution. And, in the next few weeks, I'll be having some discussion around that there because I think we can do it. We have enough politics. We have enough economists. We have enough people that know military strategy and people who know, like yourself, who know international, politics and whatnot. So my question to you is this. Do you think it's time that we have to look for the idea of a Declaration of Independence style separation?
Well, I declared my independence from the national leaders in 2007 in front of the Pentagon when the Democrats failed to stop the wars, and they had won the election. They had everything that they needed. They had majority in Congress, so they were supposed to have done it, and they didn't. And so I think individually we have to reach a point where we're willing to do that. And so we have to decolonize our minds. And I think black people's minds have been terribly colonized, and we live with the effects of that, and that's that is really our main struggle. So one of the things that also is clear that in order to make change, we don't need 50% even of our community. We can make change with whatever critical mass is, and critical mass in terms of movements has been deemed to be anywhere from 25% to 35%. So imagine if we could count on having 25% public opinion of the black community. That would snowball into is anytime we organize ourselves, then we find that we have allies, but we won't have any allies at all until we organize ourselves and do something.
I agree.
And us combined with our allies can make huge change. We have the possibility to make huge change, which also, I guess, is a point of frustration for me, because I see it so clearly that the road there it's there. I mean, sort of the goal, the desired goal, the path is there, and all it takes is just a few of us coming together and being willing to sacrifice enough in order to accomplish the goal. So actually I have an idea, and the idea, I've called it power cells, and I got a little bit, how can I say, I've been touting the power cells idea, and I thought I was going to get funding for it so that I could come back to, this kind of stuff is full-time work. And so that I could come back to the U.S., because I do not work in the U.S., and do the power cells idea, just work on it full-time so I could get 50 states represented in the idea, which would be the nucleus that we need in order to start working on that very solid critical mass in order that we can make the kinds of changes in our communities that we need and grow our allies as well. Well, I got a little, how can I say, not depressed, because it's not that, but I just had to I came to understand that it was going to be more difficult. At one, I had a funding source, and then it kind of dried up, and so now I'm just sort of trying to figure out how I'm going to find an alternative source of someone who's able to sit at a table, but they won't sit at that table that we were talking about earlier. They'll be sitting at a table for us.
Well, Sister Cynthia Mckinney, this has been a great discussion. We got 4 minutes before this system shuts us down, so I want to give you about 3 minutes to tell us how we can get your books, where you're going to be next, and how can the audience get in contact with you should they want to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing.
Well, I can be reached. First of all, I have a website, and I know I need to do a little bit more on my website. I need to bring it up to speed, but it's there, allthingscynthiamckinney.com, and you can find out a lot on it. It's not like it's not full of information. It's full of information. I just need to make it even more full of information. And I also am I do all of the socials, so I'm on Facebook and Twitter. I'm also on Steemit for those who are into blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. I'm on to Steemit and Minds, and I'm on a free speech platform, Gab.ai, so that, all these people are getting shut down on YouTube and shut down on Twitter and Facebook. Well, on Gab and Steemit and Minds, there's no problem with content, and people say whatever they want to say, good and not good, but at least there are several platforms now that say that, and so I'm there, and I'm easily found. If you go to my website, allthingscynthiamckinney.com, and then go to contact, those emails come directly to me. The information you put there comes directly to me. I also have a little chat thing, and people leave messages on the chat thing, and I respond to that as well. So I'm pretty accessible, and if you want to find me, you can.
So, good. Now, your books, are they also available on your website? Because I'm looking at your website now.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, yeah, so that's one thing I need to update. So I've got several books. I've got Ain't Nothing Like Freedom, which is the book that I wrote about me and my congressional experience. Before that, I published the illegal war on NATO. The NATO's illegal war on Libya, which was about Libya because I went to Libya during Obama's bombing of Libya, something for which he should never be forgiven. And I have a book that is literally hot off the presses. From all 3 of these books are from Clarity Press, and the latest book is How the U.S. Creates. And I'm very shy about saying, because my mother did raise a genteel Southern girl, but the president said it.
I see the title. I see the title.
Yeah.
I'll put it on there. You don't have to say the name, but it's.
Thank you very much.
I got you, brothers and sisters. The titles of these books are available on Facebook at the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. All you got to do is update. Sister Cynthia Mckinney, we got 30 seconds before we got to close out this show. Do you have any final comments for the audience? And perhaps you can come and do a part 2 of this if you wish sometime in the future.
Yes, because we didn't get through nearly half of the stuff, but this was great, though. I actually like it, kind of like this, freestyling. So anyway, we'll do a part 2 another time.
Okay, good. Do you have any final comments next 15 seconds for the audience?
No, I'll just say thank you very much to the audience and to you and your wife for having me, and I look forward to next time. And for the audience, write to me and send me messages.
All right. Sister Cynthia Mckinney, you're always welcome to the Nat Turner Library Radio. You're an honorary member of our family. You fought for us, and we're going to fight for you. So thank you for joining us tonight. Brothers and sisters who are listening for the first time, that was Sister Cynthia Mckinney. And you're listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. And what I have to say is, hey, we go straight to the source. You heard it from our sisters. We got to do for ourselves. We have no interest whatsoever in the thing that's going on. So next week, we're going to have part 2 of the update on Dr. Malachi York. And then the week after that, we have Dr. Ridley. Thank you for listening, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Nat Turner Library.
With Labor Day savings at the Home Depot, good things come in pairs. Like a Samsung top-loading washer-dryer pair for just $6.98 each. Or a front-loading high-efficiency washer-electric dryer pair, also $6.98 each. They're high capacity, so large loads are no problem. And right now, neither are smaller budgets. Up to 40% off appliance special buys now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. Gas dryer extra. See store for details. Valid through September 12th.